Welcome to the Voices of a Black Man. My name is CK James, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with none other than Mr. Lenwood Long Jr., aka Rev Wood, aka Wood, aka Mr. Long. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Cheryl. Nice to meet you again virtually and have an opportunity to chat with you today.
Thank you for being here. I'm super excited about having you today, and I'm just going to
Yes,
jump
ma'am.
right on into the theme. Um,
Okay.
it, Tell us about young Mr. Long. Where did you grow up? How'd you grow up? Give us the details.
So I'm one of the few Raleigh, North Carolina natives that is still in Raleigh. I've had the opportunity throughout my years to move several times, but nothing has ever felt like the joy of Raleigh. Right? I remember my first, some of my first memories is living in Wharfdale and on the south side of Raleigh, and then moving over to um, north side of Raleigh, which is over near the Spring Forest Road area for those who are familiar with the area, and really cut my teeth in the community there. Being the only one of few black families in what was considered the suburbs at that time was very enlightening. And then around my senior year of high school, my parents had an infinite wisdom to move to Wake Forest, and so I've had my teeth cut in Raleigh. Um, I've had some of my adolescence done in Wake Forest, and now as a grown adult, I'm living in Roseville. So I've been in the area and very excited about the what I consider is one of the most fastest growing towns in Roseville, but more importantly, just the diversity in Raleigh has really changed over the years that I'm very proud of.
Wow. Growing up, who were some of the influential people in your life?
This is a shameless plug, but I literally wrote that question down for myself, like who inspires me, or some of the things that were most influential to me. And while the list is deep, the four names that stuck out the most and have always been relevant for me is my father, Lenwood B. Long Sr., my mother, Barbara H. Long. Um, my wife actually inspires me quite a bit. Uh, my daughter, and just some of the gifts that she has, and then from a spiritual perspective, I feel the inspiration of um, a local minister here by the name of Kirby Jones, who's been a mentor and a friend, but most importantly, his method of engagement has been very awe-inspiring. So, my dad was my pastor for the last 23 years. So there's nothing you can get out of that would be suppressive of good ideas, nurturing, you know, design leadership skills for his son, trying to help him evolve as a man. And, so that from that perspective, my dad would be the person that leads me. But there's a nurturing factor. My mom, my mom took me as a raw kid who was full of ambition, full of hope, full of mischievousness, and cultivated an environment at home in which the worlds of my dad and mom, as they were separate in terms of how they parent, always came together. She was the glue to bring all out there together. And why my wife and daughter, it can be cliche, Cheryl. It really can. People say family inspires them, but my wife has a relationship with her parents and her mom and her dad that, quite frankly, I don't know if I could do. Now, I talk to my parents a lot, but she talks to them every day, religiously, faithfully. Especially her mom, and it made me really evaluate how I was engaging with family. So she really gave me a kick in the pants, and it inspired me to just be a better brother. I am a brother of three sisters, excuse me. I'm a brunkle, a brother slash uncle to a brother. His name is Michael. But my family unit is the thing that gives me the most hope in the world today. And then my daughter, my daughter is an inspiration because she was birthed out of uncertainty. 15 years ago, there was a very much so uncertainty of our ability to start a family, and then God so favored to and his infinite wisdom. And no matter which way it happens, she is my pride and joy. And just every day seeing her grow and learn is very much so inspiring. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. Wow. So I've got to ask you this question, and I know that it's okay to ask this question to you.
Mm-hmm.
What does being Lenwood V. Long Jr. mean to you?
So if I answer that question honestly, I expect that there will be people that will judge, but I'm going to be authentic. Because I think one of the problems in the Black community today, and in general with people, is that we shy away from the tough questions and the authenticity about how you feel. And my dad and his name, especially locally and in some areas nationwide, is a very tough burden to live up to. I, for many years, sought to not seek his approval, but to live up to the name of Lenwood V. Long. And again, this is not a shameless plug, but my dad was a pastor for 22 years. He worked in local government for the state of North Carolina, as high as with the governor himself. One of the pioneers of Black executive administrators for the state of North Carolina in Congress, where he worked for Eva Clayton, her first 3.5, 4 years of Congress. My dad has been given many awards locally, and at times that has been a very daunting, huge cloud of not uncertainty or lessening me as a young man, but it gave me a lot of insight on what looks good on paper. So there were times in my life where that was a struggle for me, trying to be and live in my own identity, being able to live to the name, especially a name where it's very easy to recognize Lenwood. There are not too many Lenwoods, especially spelled with an E. And there are times when people, quite frankly, they reach out to me trying to reach out to my dad. And I'm humbled because it's so great to see how people kind of like just reach out to my dad and just grab him in and just want to soak up his knowledge and soak up his love and soak up his information. But what has been most impactful for me was how he's allowed me to grow. He didn't put a standard on me to be like him. He inspired me to be better than him. And I always tell him, I didn't need Michael Jordan. I didn't need Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing. I didn't need Michael Vick, Doug Williams. I didn't need these Black athletes. I didn't. As a matter of fact, while I love sports, there was nothing that they could do to inspire me the way that my father did. And that is why, the name itself has been hard to live up to for 20, 30 years. But at one point when I got married, my dad looked at me and said, "Son, I'm proud of you because you're becoming a man the way that you designed it, not the way that the world or myself or your mom could have." So that gave me freedom. It gave me freedom to grow, gave me freedom to expand my mind even more, to accept who I am, where I am, to have my own aspirations. And then, my dad will always be the benchmark, but it's okay that I set my own benchmark that will make myself proud. And in making myself proud, it's going guaranteed to make them proud, my mom and dad individually.
Thank you for being so transparent on that question with us,
Yes,
and speaking from your heart on it.
Yes,
When I think about you talked about your wife and family, and you
yeah.
talked about, a little bit about your family.
Mm-hmm.
What makes family so treasured?
Hmm. In all of our quirks and ways, in all of our mystery, in all of our failures, in all of our successes, there's never been a moment where I didn't feel a place I wasn't welcome. Sometimes family can be a crabbed environment. We pull each other down and don't want to get ahead and da 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 da. But what my parents have instilled in all of us as kids was, individually, you have to be willing to be accountable for yourself, push yourself for higher grounds. But thirdly, most importantly, is never forget us. You know, never forget where you came from. Never forget where your support system is. For me, family has been the joy, has been my happiness. It has been a source of truth. It has had some pains. I think that if we're not honest about that, then I think we're setting ourselves up for failure. Nothing is a rose bush full of no thorns. Anything that you love and you will work for will have some thorns attached to it that you're going to have to accept. So my family has been my rose bush, and on that rose bush have been thorns, but it hasn't depreciated the love, it hasn't depreciated the value. What it's done for me is it's really made me insightful on and cherishing memories more and more. I'm not a big picture person. You know, I never really liked pictures because I enjoy the memory. You know, I think that what's important in life sometimes is we don't soak up the memories enough. We get so caught up in how we can post things to show this facade of perfection. You know, we always get the perfect picture. We always get the perfect video. But what it captures for me, my family and the moments I have with them is the memories that I can't put on Facebook, the memories I can't put on Instagram, the memories I can't tweet about. Those things are endeared and ingrained in my heart and in my mind. And they are some of the most cherishable moments that I've ever had.
Mm-hmm. When you think about family, what is one of those memories that come up for you?
As when I got married, the first time I got married to the same woman, me and my wife did what we did, a shotgun wedding in my dad's office. So it was me, my wife, my daughter, my mom and dad, and then her mom and dad, and all of my dad's office and the clerk of the church. And man, let me tell you, that secret wedding, March 24th of 2013 2017 was just special, man. It really was. Like it had so much joy in it. You know, I would have loved to have been able to celebrate it with all of my family, but like that day was a day that I saw an enormous amount of happiness in my sets of parents, you know, my in-laws and my mom and dad. But where the last piece of that sticks out was when I did get married, and on the official marriage, to have a celebratory moment with all of our families at a was very special. And lastly, last thing I think about is there was this Mother's Day where my wife and I had kind of decided to pull together our families and have this amazing Mother's Day meal at a restaurant called the Capital City Club downtown Raleigh. And we had all of the mothers who were in our immediate families locally, dressed in yellow. We handed out candy apples and a plant. But here we were in front of, you know, downtown Raleigh with about 30 people taking a picture together, as mothers, as sons, as daughters, as children, grandkids. And I don't even know what the picture is, but I'll never forget the look of happiness that day. You know, it's like you ever been able to see happiness and it just resounds. So that day, seeing those happy faces of everyone, I'll never ever forget.
Sounds like it kind of put life in perspective for you in that moment. Kind of just put life.
It sure did.
Mm-hmm.
It sure did. It let me really see and appreciate what love is. You know, God has shown us what love is. You know, the Bible says that God, you know, so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that who should believe and should not perish but shall have everlasting life. But He also says that He did not come into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world. So you hear about what love is, you know, because it's an offering of your son for the immediate sacrifice of everyone in the world for its sake, as we consider it a changing savior, a grace, a love. But what also was most important for me was, at times I questioned, how do I grab that love and make me warm? You know, what can I grab onto here on the earth? And when I looked at that day, it really showed me that there was so much love amongst us. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, you know, excuse the world. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Black love is the most beautiful love in the world, man. Because when we love, it's so love. When we love hard. We love authentic. We love real. We love, you know, in season, out of season. We love the good, the bad. You know, we love, man. We love, like, our Black love is the greatest gift to the world, in my opinion. And when it comes from a family, then you cannot depreciate the value behind those moments, because they are what should help you want to love somebody else the same, because there's people that need that love. And if you can take your own family experiences and allow that and get yourself out of the way and allow yourself to love people the way you've been loved, the magnitude of change that could happen. And that's why it's insightful for me, and that's why it sticks out and resonates so much. Because I will tell you that since then, that picture, there's been a matriculation off of, you know, some of that togetherness, because that's the thorns I was talking about. But what you cannot take from me, and I won't let anybody rob me from it, is the hope that love will never fail, because love never fails. So it showed me that day that love can be as powerful as you ask it to be, and as long lasting as you're willing to take it.
Yeah. You know, I hear you when you talk about family love, and I think the thing that we don't put behind that, and that I kind of hear you saying, and I want to make sure I'm getting this right, is that family love is something serious, because they know the good, bad, and indifferent of you. They know you from then to now, right, as family. And so for them to love you despite of whatever, you know, because of whatever, like you said, the roses and the thorns, it didn't matter. I still, that embrace and that love, and then using that same type of concept to give to others in the same way that may not be family, but are outside. You're still your brothers and sisters of the world. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes, ma'am. I will say this, right? And you have to forgive me. I'm somehow, it's hot in this room today. It's usually typically a little bit cooler, so if you see me wipe my face, please forgive me. But let me give you a little context. It's not a testimony, but it's the truth. For about 10 to 11 years, I chose a different path in life. This is prior to marriage, prior to having a relationship with God, but I chose a different path in life in which family was not important to me. So for 10, 11 years of my life, the memories I have of family have quite frankly are very few, because I chose to separate myself, because I was scared to live up to the name of Lenwood V. Long at the time. And I wanted to, but in the same right, I wanted to establish my own identity. So I took 10 years off of family engagement. I took 10 years away from knowing some of the ins and outs of my sister and brother growing up. Took 10 years off of watching my nephews and nieces grow up. And I don't have regrets in life. I wish I would have done that differently. But what was so special for me was when I got my act together, and throughout those 10 years, my act wasn't together. My mom and dad, my sisters, my brother, and my nieces and nephews, they never turned their back on me. They never walked away from me. In fact, despite how much negative or mischievousness I was doing in the world, all they saw was wood. Yeah. They didn't see the stuff that was surrounding me from, the negative clouds or the lonely nights or the crying at night because I was lonely or missing family, or they didn't see me out here trying to diminish everything great that was given to me by my parents, by the choices I was making. And if they did see it, they didn't care. All they cared about was me. All they cared about was spending time with me. And that love is, that stuck. Like man, I did a good job of pushing y'all away, but yet you still want to bring me in. And I was like, man, now that's love. Love is where you push yourself away, but people, your family, they tell you, nah, bro, nah, sister, we don't want that. We need you. I need you in my life. Let's forget the 10 years. Like, bro, I hold on to the 10 years more than my family does. They worry about the here and now. Like, don't worry about the 10 years. It is what it is. Let's enjoy even more the now. So I've become more, my emotions about it run high and deep, and it wells up in me to where I want to show the love that was given to me through my family to other people, because I know what it's like to have a lonely night. I know what it's like to be sad because you don't have anybody. I know what it's like to even, which I didn't have to, but I know what it's like to struggle to eat. And I ain't have to. My mom, I was literally the prodigal son. My mom and dad, I could have came back home anytime I wanted. But I made the choice to stay out in the world to try to figure it out. And my God, as I'm sitting there talking to you, I literally have an epiphany. I really didn't realize how impactful the story of the prodigal son was until this particular moment, and how much I embodied it. But when I came home, my mom and dad kissed me on the cheek and said, man, we are so glad you're here. Sit down. Let's eat. No, it's not going to be easy to get you back on your feet. But you know what? Let's get you back on your feet. Let's help you become the man that you want to be. And you can't put a value on that. Like, man, I know everybody's not blessed to have a mother and a father. I know that everybody doesn't have a father in their life. And I know that sometimes mother relationships, moms take on a lot being a mother and a father. But man, parents, period, no matter what capacity they're in, those that love you and they're going to bring you back in to welcome you in, even though you know that you haven't earned it at all times, is the embodiment of God's love for his people. Is the embodiment of what love should be. It's not just an act, it's not just a word. It is truly, in my best cliche, love is an action. If you want to love me, show me. And that's what they did for me.
Do you think your journey has allowed you to be the husband and father that you are today?
Yes, but yes, because I've seen pain in marriage, not particularly mine, but close enough. I've seen pain in marriage with my own parents, and I've seen pain in marriage from other people, and my parents' willingness to do it all, stick close together, not allow the world or society to determine what good parenting is or what a good family structure is, has really given me some powerful tools to use in my current relationship with my daughter and wife. Is it perfect? No. I'm not a perfect man. I like the world to think that I'm perfect, but I'll be the first to tell you that if and when God desires to provide me with a long-term ministry, my ministry won't be based upon selling people bad goods on what is. The reality is that no one is perfect. And if we go around telling everybody they're perfect, it's a lie. So, yes, they have provided me with the tools and some antidotes for some potions for getting through tough times and great times. Absolutely.
So I want to get back to you as an individual. When did you first realize that you weren't just a young man, but you were a Black man, and what did that mean to you?
1984. It was the year my youngest sister was born. I was still 9 years old. I was playing in the neighborhood. My parents were expecting their oh no baby, and my sister is my mom and dad were in their 40s, and here comes my mom pregnant with this child. So at that time, you couldn't be confined to a neighborhood. You could go out and play. Today kids don't go out and play. COVID has really allowed us to come back to that. Now, kids going outside playing, and et cetera, et cetera. But here I was in the neighborhood playing with white kids because, again, Switzerland is what I like to describe myself as. I like to be this place of immunity or there's no judgment. This is a place I should be the type of person where you can come to me and talk to me about anything and there's no judgment. And better yet, and it's a place of where we can have peace, right? So I was a peaceable person. I go out and play with everybody. I got to know kids in the neighborhood, and we got a new neighbor, and one of my friends who was white and great kid, he and we used to play together. I used to have sleepovers at his house, and those parents weren't really that fond of black people because they just didn't know, right? But I could also see them changing the more that I was around, accepting me for who I was just as a kid, right? So. But here comes this dude, and I will never forget his name. His name was Todd. I don't remember his last name, and if it was, I wouldn't put it out there. But I remember Todd coming to our neighborhood and playing within our circle. As I got to know him in 1984, we were playing basketball. It was about 4 or 5 of us. We were playing basketball at his house, and we were winning. The one black kid amongst 3, 4 other white kids. We were winning, and the one thing I learned at a young age was trash talking is part of my DNA. Okay. So, I was talking trash, having fun, blah, 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 blah. And then he called me a tar baby. And the moment he called me a tar baby, my whole mindset was changed. Because up until that age, I was never, ever told that I was black. I knew I was black, don't get me wrong. I knew. It's not like I walked around with this whitewashed mindset. I was proud of my blackness and my heritage, but no one ever taken the time to negatively talk about my color, let alone have the audacity to call me out something as negative as a tar baby. And I went home. I immediately left, and I went home. And I was so livid, man. I came home. I was so angry. I was crying. My mom was like, "What is wrong with you?" She was like, "Why?" She was like, she could see the anger. Like, I don't know if she saw me coming down the street seething mad, but I promise you, she met me outside and was like, "Okay, what's wrong?" And maybe it was just timing, but she met me in the mailbox. And I said to her, and I'll never forget, I was just called a tar baby, and I don't think I'll ever will understand what I did to him to get called that. And my mom at that point was very upset. She wanted to approach the young man's parents because that type of message and that type of information is and does come from parenting. You don't learn that stuff offhand, especially at 9 or 10 years old. You've heard those words. You've seen those words. You've seen those actions. So I told my mom, let it go. But in 1984, around May, I remember being called a tar baby, and that's the first time I was recognized at 10 years old or 9 years old that I was black in America. And that stuck out to me because I was actually going to write a memoir one day called Hello, America, I'm tired. And I'm still going to do that, And why am I tired? Because for 46 years now, my birthday was last Friday, I have been fighting the tyranny of being black in America as if it was a bad thing. Always having to, if you're articulate, you're being white. If you're not articulate enough, then you're too black. If you're educated, highly educated, then you've sold out. And if you have sold out, then, you don't earn things, you're given them. These are all the narratives that we have to go through as black people. And I'm telling you, when at age 9, when you're woken that way, it changes your whole look at the world. And it did for me.
What type of lens did it put on the world for you that you didn't have before
A
that
painful
time?
one. A painful one that I had to accept that I wasn't like everyone else in a way that the world says we are. You know, how is it? You know, this is the land of the free and, you know, liberty and justice for all. I really found out at that point, I was really awoken. Liberty and justice and freedom is not for everyone. You know, at that time, I started understanding more about the struggles of us as a people, because I did not understand why someone at that age would be so negative and call me a tar baby over a game like basketball. But then that's when I learned that racism, negativity, and things of that nature are grown at home. It's an organic thing that comes from some nurturing. Hatred comes from nurturing. You have to be continued, just like love comes from nurturing. Those things don't happen overnight. It comes from the people that you're around. It comes from the environment that you establish. And at that time is when I learned that there was a line and a division in the road, that the white friend that I was hanging with, while I would have expected him to have my back, he didn't. He walked away. And when I went home, he rode behind me like, yo, let's talk. I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. I never forget this. But he didn't come right away. He stayed a few minutes, and then he tried to come behind me. I didn't want to talk to nobody at that point. And still to this day, I'll never forget it, because it was the first time as a Black American that I recognized that this thing that they call us as Americans, there's a lot of lines that are blurred, that we are not truly American. I'll give you this. In France, what do they call a Asian French person? They call them French Asian? No. What do they call a white French person? They call them white French? No. Only in America are we called African American. We're called Hispanic American, Native American, and then everybody else is white. Mm-hmm. What kind of line of togetherness is that, where you are showing that we have to be titled by our color to be welcome? And I didn't know what a third of an American meant or citizen at that time meant, but now it's like I see it today as what it is. Like, if you really want to see a massive amount of change in the world, first of all, especially in the U.S., how about we just start calling everybody American first? Because in France, you are French. Mm-hmm. In America, we're blah, 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 blah. And that moment, it showed me that I was in that blah, 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 blah place. And I've been trying to work so hard to get away from it. You know, I'm proud to be Black in America. I am. I'm proud to be Black in America. I'm not proud of the American mindset. I'm just proud of my heritage. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't control. It's not like you woke up today to say, oh, I'm going to be Black today. Oh, I'm going to be Asian today. Oh, I'm going to be whatever today. You have no control over where you come from, how you get here, that type of thing. You have control over what you do with your life while you're here on Earth. Definitely.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, you know, here's the misnomer for me is, why would I want to wake up any other thing than what I am? I mean, I'm beautiful. You're beautiful, sis. You know, like, we have been gifted with different, you know? So because we're different, we should be hated on. We should be lesser. We should be, you know, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I don't need reparations, and I don't need a 40 acres and a mule, but my ancestors and family deserve it. Mm-hmm. But I don't go around. I beat my drum about, we as a people ask for civil rights. We couldn't get equal rights, so we just asked for the ability just to be civil. Mm. There's a problem with that. Every other group in the world, in the U.S. and in the world, they fight for their equal rights. LGBTQ, they fight for equal rights. Women fight for equal rights. Asian Americans now fight, Asians across the world fight for equal rights. Muslims fight for equal rights. But black people, we had to settle for civil, just civil rights. Civil rights. I got to fight for you to be civil to me, for you to treat me as a person. What have we done as a people that will make you feel that I'm lesser of a person because of my color? I should be called a tar baby because you're losing in the game, which means that your parents are at home teaching you the same information, and here you are spewing it out to others, which means you're going to teach your children that same hatred because of a color. Because of a color, not because of the heart, not because of the action, not because of anything other than my color. And mind you, I'm not tar, I'm brown, red clay, made from human earth, from where man first began. Man didn't begin in England. Man was separated from the continent of Africa and then moved dispersely across different parts of the world. It still, not socially, but scientifically shows that creation started in Africa. Next up, China. Take it for what it's worth. You know what I mean? Like, they don't find these fossils in England. They don't find these relics in Ireland or U.S. They're found where civilization began. So my soapbox is not resting necessarily on the negative nature of people. It's on the negative recurring conversations that never change. I'm a black man that struggles every day with just trying to be accepted at work at times. I've been denied many jobs because of my color. I've trained people, trained them. And because and I was told after the fact that because I didn't look like the customers that they would be engaging with, that I wouldn't be worthy enough for the role. So I have taken on the task of telling kids today, the reason why I really wanted to get into being a youth pastor, especially within a black church, was I wanted to bring in all cultures, because heaven is not a place where, if we're believers, no matter where you go and what faith you have, how about that? The place of final rest won't be based upon the color. There won't be a black side. There won't be a white side. There won't be a yellow, green polka dot side. It's going to be souls and people, right? So I try to bring those things together where people and all those things come together. But inside of that little bubble of love, of heart, right in here, I try to tell the kids, especially those in my black community, you are not only black, but you are beautiful. You are powerful. As Brown said at Grace, I'm black and I'm proud. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. I don't want another black child to wake up and feel that they are less than because of what they see on the news, because of what they experience in the classroom. I was listening to something today, and I'll tell you, they really have set the system up to where systematic racism is so prevalent that we missed the mark on recognizing and calling it out. But a gentleman today called it out today, just in athletes alone. Do you realize that they put limitations on every sport that black athletes are the prominent race? For instance, in the NFL, for the NBA, NBA players can now no longer go into the NBA directly out of high school. Why are you trying to deny people the opportunity to make money that's probably a need for their family? They don't do that for hockey. They don't do that for golf. And they do not do that for NASCAR. And they don't do it for baseball. So why is football?
If you live in the U.S. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You were say if you live in the U.S. because you can come from other countries.
Oh, hey girl, I wasn't even gonna go there. I wasn't even gonna go there, sir. Like I ain't want to do that. You took it to a place but that's as we say around here, that's real talk. That's real talk. We put more limits on our kids here because of why, and it comes down to race. They don't call it anything else. And it's systematic. I mean, the things that they put in place to hinder our ability to move forward is at times jaw dropping.
That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. So let me ask you this question then. Yeah. When you walk into a room, who do you want people to see or to think? What do you want them to think when you walk in a room?
I want them to see me as man first, human. See me as, I hopefully people see my smile as a reflection of who I am. Warming. I think most of my teeth are in here. And while I don't have the perfect smile, the imperfections in my smile are a representation of the perfection of God. That I am perfect in his sight as a creation of him, not perfect in my actions, only in the creation. So the first thing I want people to see me as is a human. The next thing I want to see them as is a representation of love. The last thing I want them to capture is that my love is not a reflection of anything else other than the culture that I've been raised in. I know that when I walk in a room, I am going to be one of the bigger black men in the room. So you're either going to be intimidated or you're going to treat me like the teddy bear I am. And 9 times out of 10, my smile is the most alarming thing for people. That it does make them see me as a human versus the big black man in the room. And that's real talk.
What do you think make people, when you walk in, being a bigger stature of a black man, what do you think makes them feel, outside of the smile kind of, you said is disalarming, but what makes them feel intimidated?
Well, the reality of it is because I'm big and black. The stigma behind big black men. I'm not the fanciest dresser, but I refuse to wear, $1,000 jewelry just for you to accept me, and because if I do wear $1,000 jewelry, then you're going to assume I'm a drug dealer or that I'm fascist. I'm not doing any of that. Like I'm going to be comfortable in my own skin. I like what I like. And I know that when people see me, the first thing they do see most times, especially people who aren't my color, they see a big black man and then they see you smile and say, okay, he's going to be all right because he didn't come in here all loud. But does my loudness represent my culture, or is my loudness just who I am? Your expectation of me should not be based upon what you see on the news or the TV. It should not be based upon what you see in some parts of the South Side. Because I have news for you. If we're going to take a poll that for every black person that I see that's quote unquote shown on TV, there's 25 or 30 more white people that don't get shown for their ignorance and the things that they do that they're just as loud as we are. And they come from the same undiversified communities called trailer parks, called suburbs. And guess what? When they walk in the room, I'm going to size them up as they size me up, based upon not their color, but their energy. But you know what? I know that people don't do that. They see my size, they see my stature, they see what I wear, and they immediately go into judgment.
What do you want people to say as you leave out the room?
What I like for people to hear is this. The greatest gift that I was ever given as a man was to tell someone that I love you. Today, you say I love you to people, and it becomes this, whoo, you don't even know me, or they feel like you say I love you is to say that I'm in love with you. Well, I am in love with you. I don't know you, but I do love you. Why do I love you? Not because it's the easier thing to do. It is the right thing to do. Love those as you love yourself is a biblical statement. How can I love anything else in the world if I don't love me? One of my favorite rap artists, his name is J. Cole. And J. Cole has a song that me and my wife sing around here that we use for our daughter all the time, and it's called Love Yours. There's always going to be a bigger house than yours. There's always going to be a better car than you. There's always going to be someone prettier or more handsome than the spouse that you have. There's always going to be a bigger car, better clothes. But how can you be happy if you don't love yours? You have to love you for you, love everything that God has given you that you have worked hard to get, love your family like there's no other, love what you own, what you want to inspire to be, and what you want to inspire to lastly be. And then the most fifth important thing is if you can't love yourself, how can you love someone else? I would like people to take away from me today is the ability to take this concept of love and look beyond the veil of hatred and rely on the love that resides in them to love yours. Start with loving you first. Love your family as hard as you love yourself. Love your neighbor the way that you want to be treated. Love everything that you've been gifted and that you're going to seek to give. And never put limitations on your love. And if I may give you my last side note or rock to throw in the water, I want to inspire every person that I've ever come in contact with to stop thinking like a rowboat and begin thinking like a yacht. What do you mean, Wood? In the Bible, it talks about there was a time in which Jesus was out with the disciples fishing. And they were looking for fish on the left side of the boat. But Jesus told them, stop fishing here and go to the right side and you'll pull in more fish. They said that there was so much fish as they followed and obeyed Christ that they couldn't even pull the fish on board, but they had to get some help. The line was breaking. Where am I going with that? In short, if we keep doing the same thing, fishing on the left side, and never, ever giving the right side a chance to grow, we are missing our blessing in abundance. We are, as people, can no longer look at ourselves as just rowboat people. We need to start thinking about the yacht. How do I move from the left side of doing the same thing over and over again and getting no change to the right side to where my abundance is? And that comes through your heart, through your love, through your effort, and most importantly, through your action. Thank you.
Wow. So when you talk about your daughter, thank you for that. When you think about your daughter, what's your hope and fear for her?
That she becomes the greatest of whatever it is she wants to be. My hope for her is that she is not just a proponent of people and work. I want her to be the most dynamic person. My expectations are high. I don't want her to settle for status quo. You know, I just gave you the story about the disciples on the boat. They were selling for status quo on the left side. But where they saw their greatness and abundance is where they had to go do some action and go to the right side of the boat, follow their faith, follow their expectation, and believe in themselves the way that they were guided, that with and through God, all things are possible. So my expectation for her is trust God, be the best you can be. And if you're doing it on the left side and it hasn't got you anything, it's time to change. Transform your thinking. And last but not least, never lose sight of what's important, family. Don't make the mistakes that I did. Don't go back and regret of losing the time. Love like you've never loved before. Sometimes it's going to fail, but it'll never break. Love never fails. That's all I ask of her.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got a couple more questions for you, and I'm gonna get you out of here.
Sure. Sure.
At the end of the day, what's your legacy?
My legacy, the word I keep using today, and that is love. I want people, I believe and know that people know that when I'm in their environment, the authenticity of my love is real. I pray that you see my love for you today in a way that is visual, but also in my truth. I truly believe that love has saved me and is saving me. Other part of my legacy will be, how did I serve? Everybody wants to be the chief. There's not enough Indians. To serve someone is to eventually have you to be served. You're not to be a slave to anyone. You're not to be enslaved by people's thinking about you or anything. You are to serve someone in a way that you've never served before. And that service could be, if you see someone hungry, feed them. If you see someone in need and you have the means, help. If you don't have the means and you just have the time, go volunteer and then smile and love someone along the way. I will be a community service advocate. I will serve my community, and I will love, and I will do all those things with my family. That will be my legacy.
Is that what's missing in society right now? Love?
Yes. Yes.
How do we get it back?
A willingness to tear it down. People got to tear down their inconsistencies and also be honest with themselves. Sure, people aren't honest with themselves. You know, white people can't understand. You're right. You can't understand what it's like to be black when you walk into a store and people automatically start following you because of your color. You don't know what it's like to be black when you get pulled over from the cops and you are scared of whether you're going to make it home. You don't know what it's like to be black where you're turned down from credit because of your color, or limited on your ability to do the things that you want to do because you don't have the not necessarily financial means, you just ain't got the right color. You don't know what it's like to be looked past because of your color. You don't know what it's like to be told that you're not enough because of your color. This whole thing of love has to be torn down in a lot of communities and revamped. And that starts with people being honest and real with themselves. I don't love because. I don't like because. I can do better because. How do we get better? We got to have a real conversation. Anybody that's willing to take a real conversation with me, I am easy to find. Hit me up on social media. I am at Woodrow at Instagram, and I am at Lenwood L on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. If you want to have a real conversation about how do you change, how do you love, hit me up. You know, because I don't have the potion to it, but I sure have the platform and the forum to make some things change. Second thing that has to happen is there's got to be a willingness. This is not about taking a horse to water. I'm so tired of that saying that you take a horse to water, but you can't force them to drink. Like at this point, somebody got to drag people to the water. You can't just walk them up to the water anymore. Walking up to the water, we've been doing for 400 years, and what has to change? Can we keep it real? Have we had some advancements? Yes. Look at us today, Cheryl. I mean, we're doing some things that we never even think we were going to do. Yeah, that's because we sought that change. We sought that willingness to bring people in. Yeah. But what has it really changed in 400 years? Zero. So now we need to drag people to the water, and we need to not force them to drink, but we needed to show them what sipping the water will do for them, and that is showing the love and then giving them a platform to speak from their heart and then have a willingness to change. Lastly, in the short term, and this is the final word for me in terms of what changes people on things, hope. Don't lose it. If you look at the world today, you can lose hope easy. I when I saw George Floyd died on camera, with him calling out his mother, who he saw in his departure from this world, who his mom had recently departed. It was a spiritual revelation. This man was calling out for his mom, and in that moment, I literally lost hope for a while. I was at work, sad and depressed. In fact, I was so emotional, I didn't want to, because for 400 years we've seen and heard about lynching and being robbed of our life in this world, and then to see it taken from a man for $20 that were counterfeit, that you don't know whether or not he knew was counterfeit or not, for his not resisting. I lost hope. I lost hope in people. I lost hope in white folk. And I lost hope, and I've never really had hope in the elected officials of this world that are leading the country. And if you rely on those people, you'll lose your hope. So I had to reinvent my hope, and my reinvention of hope was remembering that God so loved the world. Remember that he loved me by giving me life today. Remembering that I still have opportunity to smile. Remembering that his hope, my hope and goodness, my hope in people, my hope that there is a change. I lost that for several weeks, excuse me. And I'm starting to really get my hope swagger back. And I want to hope like I've never hoped before. And I want to help others inspire for that.
Wow. So I have quick rapid fire that I do with all the speakers. Are you up for it?
I am absolutely up for it.
Okay. I promise it won't be too hard. I promise.
That's fine.
Favorite food?
Ooh, pizza.
Pizza. What type of pizza?
I don't eat pork anymore, so it's barbecue chicken pizza. No bacon.
No bacon.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No bacon. Yeah.
Favorite ice cream?
Pralines and cream.
Interesting.
I love caramel and the pecans. I just love it. Or the almonds, whatever one you're doing.
Yeah. Favorite song?
Love Yours, J. Cole.
What is it about that song? I know you talked about it a little bit earlier. What is it about that song?
For a non-Christian, it's like, how can you like rap music and like gospel? Gospel music is inspiring, but I think this song, Love Yours, is transcending. It speaks across genres. It speaks across people, the bottom line is, how can you ever really be happy with anything if you don't love what you got, what you own for yourself, man? Like, how can you?
Yeah.
Love yours.
All right. Favorite hobby?
Golf.
Are you pretty good at it?
No, which is why it's a hobby.
Fair. Very fair. Very fair. Favorite vacation or destination spot?
I like to add one other thing to the favorite thing besides golf. Favorite hobby is watching my daughter play basketball, or just being with her is probably great. Favorite vacation spot? I am planning and starting my investment to buy a beach house in Jamaica. I don't know when or how it's going to happen, but it is, because I have given myself a goal, and that's a 10-year goal. And that's my favorite destination. I got married in Jamaica, specifically in Montego Bay. And I would love to, aspiration is to own a Caribbean beach house, but the beach house is coming. It may not be Jamaica because of the political aspect of it, but it will be somewhere warm and tropical. But Jamaica, to answer the question.
Gotcha. Wonderful. That's the end of my rapid fire. See, it wasn't too bad, was it?
No, and I can add one more place to that.
Yeah.
This is something that everyone should do. If you're Black and you haven't been to Africa, go. Figure it out. Most enlightening thing that ever happened to me was going to Africa 4 years ago. Man. Not that I ever expected it, but people often tell you that, living in huts, they're living out in jungle, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I didn't go with that type of thinking, but it's amazing to see how much development there is. Also, it's also amazing to see how much underdevelopment there is because of the unwillingness of people to change the narrative about some things. But as a Black person, if you get an opportunity, put it on your bucket list. You need to make that happen. You need to go to where it all began and get exposed to being around people that look like you on a regular basis.
What did that do for you?
Changed my life. It besides the safaris and seeing the animals in their nature, being around everything that looked like me, a place of acceptance. Some Africans are not accepting of Americans in general. I hate to say that, but shoot, man, they don't even accept us here. So it was a little hurtful to hear, that coming from, some of my own people but they don't know us. So they see us as fascists. They see all the stuff on TV, And those things are a poor representation of people. But at the end of the day, that environment, especially walking in Johannesburg, walking the steps in which Mandela took, to see how you were welcomed like none other because of your Blackness, and then to be a part of the number in which you are the majority, yeah, man, that's life changing. And then to see the spiritual aspect of people, and to see how people wanted to worship God, and we weren't even there for a mission trip; we were there for a person, and they still wanted to have church. That was awesome.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, it has been a wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed anyway.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it too.
Yes. And what I like to do with all the speakers is at the end, give them the platform to say whatever it is that they want to say that's on their heart or mind that they want to be seen or heard for. And I want to sit back. I'm putting myself on mute so I don't disrupt you at all. And it is your platform.
Oh, thank you. I promise not to be too long-winded with this one. I really just want to reiterate the thing about love. In short, please start loving yourself the way that you want to be loved. Don't ever, young lady, don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not lovable. Young man, don't ever feel that you can't be loved. To that adult who feels that their love has been depreciated, love still is true. Love still covers a multitude of sins, and love is what will help you through. But if you can't love yourself, you can't expect the world to love you the way that you deserve. So today, on this day, July 29th, I'd like for someone to take the opportunity to forgive yourself, to show yourself how much you are loved by loving yourself. And when you put and raise the bar on the way that you love you, people can no longer set the bar low. They have to come up and meet you at where you love yourself. I've been in that place where I questioned if I was loved. I was truly here. But the moment that I decided that I was going to elevate my love to living high above what I thought of myself and what I believe myself I could, it was amazing how I became a parent, I became a father, and I became an even better son and brother because I started to love me more. And then it was easy for me to love everyone else. So today I share with the world that I love you. If I could, the old school saying, if I could buy the world a Coke, I would buy everyone a Coke and make them happy and we'll give them, no. My song for you is, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. But I want you to start today, wherever you have depreciated the love for yourself, is to love you first. And everything else will come to that level up with you. Put down the alcohol, put down the drugs, put down the things that you're using to suppress your ability to be loved for yourself. I'm not asking for perfection, but I am seeking progress. Have progress in your love, have progress in your work, and seek those answers that you seek about everything in your life through your meditation, your prayer. And if I can at any time be of service to you to help you understand what love is, please do not hesitate to reach out to me on my previous social media outlets. Thank you.
Mr. Long.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You shared your heart. You were transparent. You shared your experience and your wisdom with us today. Thank you so much for being a speaker here at Voices of a Black Man. I know that you've touched me and I know you've touched others just by your presence here today and leaning in to just be you, just to be who you are today. Ma'am. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed.
Yes, ma'am. I did, and thank you for having me, Sherelle.
Absolutely. To our viewers, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to the Voices of a Black Man. Ms. Long said something that is true, and it's what I tell you all the time. You listen, you've seen, you've heard, you listen to his story through his lens, but now it's up to you, because it takes each one of us changing ourselves first before we can change our families, our communities, and the world. So if there's anything that he may have said today that maybe hit you in a different way or gave you a different perspective that maybe you didn't know that was there, a bias that was there, that you're like, oh my goodness, what is this thing that's coming up? What is this that I'm thinking now? What is this that I heard that contradicts what I've been taught all my life? I want to encourage you to explore any of those biases and then take action. Take action to change them, because only in that can we be a better world. So I thank you for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. I hope you come back to visit with us. If you are a Black man that's saying, hey, I have a story to tell and I want to tell it, go to www.voicesofablackman.com. If you just want to learn more information about this project series and what we're doing, www.voicesofablackman.com. You can leave us comments, you can leave us messages, you can register to listen live, and not on Facebook, but live as we're doing the interview. Listen, this is CK James, and in the words of Mr. Long, I love you very much. Take care of yourself. More importantly, love yourself first. All right, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Take care.